Hey everyone, Michelle from Scrappy Soul Sister here, and I am working on a layout for my Creative Scrapbook. Now, this is using the May limited edition kit, and I just love this paper. It just is feels special with the inset lights and the gold flecks and all that. So I don't know that I'm going to do much to it. It's approaching perfection already for me, but we'll see how it goes as we continue with the layout. I did grab this title off of the website there at My Creative Scrapbook. If you are a member, then you have access to all of their cut files, and so I'm going to use that. And I just need to figure out, how I want to back it. Wood grain is always great. I love this pink brick as well. And then there is this green herringbone that I haven't used yet. And I think, leaning towards either the green or the wood grain. I really love the pink, but I think I'm going to use that in a bigger way on one of my other layouts. And so, yeah, one of these two. And so I'll grab some embellishments and see what is going to work, and we will go from there. So what I came up with for this layout is to have a section of green showing below my photo and somewhere for my title to sit. And so I'm taking the stencil that comes in the kit. It has four different, I think maybe three different patterns to it. And so I want to use the grassy one, the grassy floral butterfly one, and I'm just going to do it in multiple layers. I did it with old paper and a layer with peeled paint. And then I am just going to let my texture paste mix with the green that is on my stencil. So that will create a layer. And then I come back again after it's dried with just white texture paste. And that creates the fourth layer. And so I'm really happy with how that turned out. It's pretty subtle, but that is what I wanted for this layout. So I'm going to create a little strip where I can go. I'm using a tearing ruler, which I can't remember the last time I used a tearing ruler because I usually am not that precise. But I did want to be precise with how this looks. And so I got it wet with my paintbrush first, and then am tearing it kind of into a bit of a pie shape, a really long, skinny piece of pie. So that is what I'm doing here. And then I'm going to take those two sections and put it above and below the section that I just did my stenciling on, and that is the finished result there. I really like how it came out. And so I'm going to go ahead and adhere to my title since I'm sure of where I want that to go. And I am going to use some foam tape on it just so it is, since it's sticking up a little bit, I did roll the edges of that paper a bit. So just so it would lay flat, though the adventures word does not lay flat. It's just kind of floating in the air, and I'm okay with that. I did make sure to add liquid adhesive on the top of the Y and the bottom of the A, since that's what is connecting to that lavender purple paper. And there we go. One element complete. I have my title down. So this is the picture I'm going to be using. And so I can't remember if I talked about this picture in my intro. But if not, I am just went to a crop last weekend with some girlfriends, and we took a few pictures there in town. I use a couple of them in my layouts for the May kit, and so you will see them again, or you've already seen them, depending on the order that these videos are released. I did want the horizon to be on a straight line, and so that's why the picture is angled. And I'm taking a look at some of the elements. I do want to use that journaling card off to the left. Live for the moments you can't put into words. And I am going to use that tag up above. And if you didn't see my other video where I talked about how I handled the cut apart sheet, that tag up above was one of the cut aparts, and I just used a tag die to cut it into a die so I wouldn't have to cut that bad boy out. And so I am going to go ahead and ink a lot of my edges with hickory smoke. And I tend to, once I pick a color for the kit for inking the edges, I tend to use that color for all of the layouts, I've noticed, just for a little bit of consistency. And that's just the color I thought worked the best, so I might as well use it with the whole collection. I am going to use those ivory flowers, and I am going to add a couple of, oh, I see that they're there now. So that lavender flower and then the green flower, the lavender one will stay there, and the green one will move down below with the ivory tower or ivory flower by my title. So let's see what else. Oh, so I did have, from a previous layout, I took off one of the layers from the flowers, from a pink flower, and waste not, want not. I just tucked that layer in behind the tag, so it looks like I have another flower there, even though it is just pieces of the flower. I am going to use that good times phrase, and I am going to, I think that was favorites. I am going to use that favorite sentiment down below and that now up above there. So now I want to tie off my tag, and so I decided to use the charcoal thread. This is a wax thread that I have, and it is has it's has some purples have a bit of a gray hue. This is one of those, and so that is what I'm using to tie off my tag. And what else? It looks like I'm going to go ahead and start adhering my flowers. And I have also tucked in quite a few of the flower embellishments that come in the Serene Petals kit. They're little bits and pieces embellishments, and I am going to go ahead and add those below and above in both of those embellishment clusters. And yeah, I already mentioned I'm going to use that word. Now I'm also, I don't know if I'm quite there yet. I wanted to add just a few more flowers. So I'm going to make those, you'll see here shortly. And then that tag, I went ahead and adhered that, and I can't decide because I didn't want to tuck it in too much because I wanted the words to show, but now it feels like there's a little bit of negative space there, so I might even, like, before I put this into an album, fill that space up with a little something. But I'm going to go ahead and add some more of those flowers, and then I find a couple of larger um, floral embellishments, and so I'm going to use those. And just having a play, trying to keep it from getting too big. So trying to keep my clusters on the tight side. But I am, as you might know, only partially successful at that. Embellishment clusters tend to get large. All right, I need a little coffee. So I'm adhering the flowers down below. And like I said, I wanted to make some flowers. And so that is what you see me kind of sticking in there now just to see how they looked. I took some of that green celery colored paper and cut some flowers from a flower die. Just going to shape them a little bit. Probably could have um, ink the edges a little bit as well to give them a little bit more dimension, but they're pretty small. And when I get their centers and such in them, it's going to take up a lot of the space. And so, but if you have the time and you think about it, inking your flowers is always a good way to go in order to give them just a little bit more dimension. And so I'm taking a look at, how I want to fill their centers. I wasn't really feeling like doing buttons for these, and so I am going to use my collage medium. I am going to put some of these pearl and gold beads in the centers, and then I'm going to surround them with some of that lavender purple. I don't remember what those are called. They're little. Let me grab a jar and see if it tells me. And prills? They're prills. And so I'm going to use those to kind of set my pearls in. You'll see here. Just going to scoop them up with my tool. These tend to have a mind of their own, so you want to definitely have them in some sort of dish or container if you are using them, so you don't get it all over the place. And now I have let that dry, and I'm just going to start sticking them to my layout. And the last thing I'm going to do, I think, is add some butterflies. So I add a butterfly to one of my flowers. I'm going to add a couple more to the one to the journaling card and one up on the tag in the upper right. First, I need to cut them out, it looks like. And then I will also add beads to their centers. There we go. And then finally, the last thing I am going to do is add just a couple of clear flat beads to my flowers, so they kind of look like dewdrops. So that is what I'm doing there. So I so appreciate everyone who has hit liked or subscribed or left kind words. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Here are some close-ups, and have a great day.